Hello and welcome to the Doctor's Corner. I am your host, as always, Dr. Mark Pinsky, and today, part 3 of our series on spirituality. Back with me, the wonderful Father Blake Britton. It is a pleasure to have you, as always.
Thank you.
And it is an honor to have you as well, sir.
Thank you very much.
So today we're going to do one of my favorite topics, which I've talked about for 20 years in medicine: mind, body, spirit, all of that being interrelated, and of course the body, using the body and treating the body as a temple.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking before the show how this notion of the body as a temple is actually a Jewish notion that comes from the Old Testament, because we're made in God's likeness and image. Right. And so because of that, every single body is sacred, and we do have a responsibility to take care of our bodies. Being spiritual does not mean just take care of the soul. Being spiritual means, as you mentioned, taking care of the whole person. It's interesting because in Christianity, this takes a whole new timbre for one really radical event: the incarnation. And what the incarnation is, very simply put, is that moment when, according to Christian theology, God becomes flesh in the womb of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And that adds a whole new dimension to the dignity of the human body, because now the body is so dignified that even God himself chose to dwell within one. And this is actually what gives birth to the field of medicine. Medicine as we know it today could only exist within a Christian paradigm, because we give this emphasis to the necessity to preserve the body with the spirit, and that both of these things are necessary together. So it is a really, really important topic, and it's fascinating for me, again, as someone whose expertise is in the field of philosophical and theological development, to see mainly from the Jewish and Christian origins how this notion of caring for the body is very important and leads to the discovery in the fields of medicine.
Well, I agree. I'm fascinated. So that time you threw me off. I was just totally in a trance, Father. But I do believe that one of the things we talked about on the last show is this is not very well done in either from the Jewish perspective in the Jewish world. It's not very done well in my opinion in the Christian world. I think that. Definitely not in medicine, and
right.
Your brother will attest to that. Now he's really going to be able to attest that at his residency. He's going to be like, "What's going on here?" But the bottom line is we now are talking about it more and more about if you want a person to really be healed, if you want a person to do well in their life. These things are like those circles that are just intertwined, if you will, like the Olympic circles, right? They're all intertwined. You can't have one without the other and be successful in the life. When I say successful, I mean healthy. Healthy in terms of physicality, healthy in terms of your mind and how you think about things. And certainly if your spirit's not right, we've talked about that too, you're not going to be right. There's just no way you can bring it all together. So from my perspective, one of the things that I like to do and I like to talk about is how, from a Christian standpoint, are those things interrelated? How is the mind, the body, and the spirit interrelated?
Absolutely. Well, we spoke about this a couple of times in the notion of the pneumatic, the psychic, and the somatic person. I reiterate it constantly because most people aren't aware that there are 3 parts of the human person. Because most of us just care about the somatic part of the human person, but we don't think about the psychic part of the human person. But there are 3 aspects to humanity, and this is very important for Christianity, once again, because God became man. So that means that now humanity is taken to a dignity, a sublimity, of which it had never received before. And this is what gives value to human endeavor and human study, and also to the study of the world around us. That's why Galileo, for example, was a Catholic. The inventor of the Big Bang Theory was a Catholic. You have these priests. Copernicus was a Catholic priest, the one who found heliocentrism, the fact that the sun is in the center of the cosmos. So all these different notions come from this paradigm, from this worldview that the human body is dignified and needs to be taken care of, and that there are 3 aspects which constantly have to be ministered to simultaneously. If they're not, then we never acquire that fullness of life for which we were created. So we exist to have a full life here and now. It's not something like far off in the magic land of heaven, right? Jesus says, I came that you might have life and have it to the fullest. Here, now, in this world, at this moment, it's available to us. But unfortunately, because society's become so secularized and in many ways also atheistic, it is now negating that most fundamental part of our human existence. And the millennial and Gen Z generations are waking up to that. I've been amazed the amount of young adults and children who have reached out to me and saying, Father, we're raised in this world where we're told that if we play video games for hours and we watch enough YouTube that we're going to be happy. But we're not. We're not happy. Is there anything more to life than this? And it's exciting for me as a priest to say, yes, there's much more to life than this.
Sure.
And to help guide them in their own spiritual journey. So yeah, this is an absolutely crucial part for us. And part of that is also, again, the physical health. A lot of times we don't think about that. And we were talking before the show that you have this physical health routine, which actually I'm going to probably need after the Christmas season.
You do pretty well. You're in pretty good shape.
But I would love to hear you. Tell us about what you're doing.
So thank you. That's very nice. So one of my big pushes, if you will, in medicine is that I've always believed that this notion about weight loss was taught inappropriately. We're bombarded on the internet. If you look up weight loss, there's like 10 million things that'll pop up. And the problem is that nobody has your best interest in mind. Nobody's trying to teach you the essence of losing fat. Because it's really fat that gets you in trouble. It's not weight. I use the expression, if I wanted you to lose weight, I cut your arm off, I send you to Ethiopia, you'll lose weight.
Right.
But it's not a good weight loss. You'll burn muscle. I don't want you to burn muscle. I want you to become strong. I want you to drop the fat, which is terrible for you. That visceral fat that hangs on and we all have issues with is the thing that really causes disease. That's science. We now know that that's true. It's responsible for the majority of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, certain cancers, pancreatic, stomach, colon cancer, and the list goes on and on. So if you take that and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to address the issue of fat loss, go look it up. You can't really find people that address fat loss. Here's why. There's no money in it.
That's probably a good reason.
So here's why. Here's why there's no money in it. Because most of the weight loss clinics are designed to create a mill.
Right.
See 100, 150, 200 patients at a time, and they're giving you your magic shot, or they're giving you your magic pills, or they're giving you your magic this. But nobody teaches you the secret sauce. The secret sauce is to educate you on how to eat, right? Yes, I know our food supply is awful. It's terrible, tragically, right? But there's ways to get around all of that. There's ways to supplement in between. There's all kinds of things that we can do that once we have the message here, it never goes away. But it's almost like they don't want you to know that message because then you don't come back. And that they can't create this constant rotating mill, which turns into revenue for them.
Wow.
So to be honest, one of the things that we've tried to do is really delve into the psyche of why people can't lose weight. And I'm telling you, the overmajority of it is that, like you were talking about in one of the other segments, right? It goes back to a long time ago. They were taught to eat inappropriately, or they said to themselves, listen, I ate a ton before. Now I'm just not going to eat. I am not going to eat, and I'm going to lose weight. But that's the worst thing to do. So then they kind of up and down, and they fad this, and this is the next big great thing. Put this in, it dissolves fat. That doesn't work long term. So teaching them how to eat, what to do throughout their day, how to intertwine, physical activity with it. You don't have to do physical activity to lose weight, Father. There's this misnotion that if I exercise, I'm going to lose weight. No, not necessarily true. You have to do the right exercise for you to lose weight, but you don't have to be one of these, crazy people that exercises 5, 6, 7 days a week for 2-3 hours at a time. Not true. Not true. So one of the things we try to do is make it reasonable. I tell them, I do want you to exercise because it has all these other benefits for you. Great for your head, clears your thoughts for the day.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Have you found a correlation between those who are losing weight loss and like them growing in health in other aspects of their life, their psychological and their spiritual? What have you seen the connection there?
So, for example, when people start to lose weight, they just feel better about themselves, right? They don't even need to lose large amounts of fat. They don't need to do a lot. But as soon as they start doing that, as soon as their inches start to come down, what happens? They start to open up. It's almost like you could see it lifted in their face and how they talk, kind of like when they come to you and start reveal themselves and they say, I'm renewed, right? And then it takes on all these other aspects of their life, whether it be spirituality, whether it be a better relationship with their kids, better relationship with them. It does have this overhang effect of which I've tried to explain to people. It's more than just about physical appearance.
Right. It's more than just looking good at the beach.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, I tell them there's skinny fat, right? I can look at somebody and go, wow, you look fantastic, but on the inside, you're not so good. You would say that for a different reason, Father. Right, you would say, you're rotten spiritually.
Right.
But I say the skinny fat, when we check their in-body scale, when we put them on this special scale that tests their body fat and tests their skeletal muscle mass, I get them to work with their basal metabolic rate. I know, science is so good now, I know how many calories they need to sustain themselves. So when they say to me, listen, I eat this and this, and I challenge them, they're only eating like 800 calories a day, but their basal metabolic rate is like 1,500 calories a day. So what does their body do? God's created a great mechanism here. What's he done? I need to slow you down. So your metabolic rate slows down because I got to preserve you. Otherwise, you'll die. So everything slows down. And that's where you get this. It's a storage mechanism. You go into starvation mode.
Wow.
And science knows this. But why don't we teach people it? No money.
Yeah.
There's not enough money in it. But I disagree. I tell everybody this. There's if you do the right thing, good things happen in all different realms, right?
Yeah.
It won't just be from a financial thing, but it'll be from a message thing.
You touch on a really important point, I think, that we need to reclaim in modern society. Pope Benedict XVI, who's one of my favorite people ever, those who are watching this that are from my parish, I mention him all the time. He wrote an encyclical called Caritas in Veritate. This is pretty much a letter that the Pope writes to the whole world occasionally. And it means charity and truth. And it's an economic encyclical, actually, writing on the basis of economics. But he mentioned there that one of the main problems with our economic infrastructure is that money is king, but not the human person. And so we no longer build an infrastructure. We no longer develop methods of health, methods of economics, methods of religiosity, or it may be that are revolved around helping the person, but rather revolved around making our bang for our buck. Right. And so it's interesting how you have mentioned that your program focuses rather on actually enriching the individual person's life.
For sure.
It's specifically built around what they need, and therefore it works better.
It definitely works. And what's happened is we've had several people on the show who've told their success stories, and it really has changed their life.
Wow.
More importantly, Father, not just their life, but it's changed all the people around them, their lives as well. So, probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my entire career, right, is to have created and been a part of a program where I know that if people really take it to heart, they are going to be better in all aspects of their life because they're no longer victim to a substance that they have to have.
Yeah.
Right? So now it sets them free in a whole bunch of other ways. I tell them, it doesn't mean you can't go to have a good time at a party. It doesn't mean you can't have that piece of cake. It doesn't mean you can't have... You just can't do it all the time.
Right.
Right? That was never intended. But from a standpoint of wholeness.
Yeah.
There's probably nothing more inclusive that I've ever done than that program. Yeah. And so I think it comes from my background of being a religion minor, my own background of spirituality, my own belief system that if as a DO and as a holistic provider, that if I don't create that mind-body-spirit connection, I'm not going to help this person live a very prosperous life.
Yeah.
So I believe it wholeheartedly. I got chastised a lot when I was going through my residency, telling me I was crazy. I'm still crazy. Right. It has nothing to do with that. And so I really feel blessed in that regard. The Lord led me to that. The Lord has kept me in that venue. The Lord has said to me things that I thought were really good.
Right. Right.
All right. So let's talk about, because I know you're a little bit, I want you to preach to your people or teach your people or talk to your people about the value of physical activity.
Yes.
So go for that.
Of course. No, 100%, not just my people, but everybody, who's watching. So I love working out. Right. It's something I picked up when I was in the seminary. Beforehand, I was pretty chubby when I was a kid, to be honest with you. I'm half Puerto Rican, and my Puerto Rican mom fed me very well growing up.
Rice and beans.
A lot of rice and beans. So I was a little bit of a chunky kid. But when I got into college, and when I got to the seminary, I started taking my health really seriously. And one of the things I love doing is going to the gym. And it's funny because I recently just made a video. And in this video, I was working out because I have a public Facebook page, for all my traveling and the podcasts and things that I do. And so a lot of people check on that on a daily basis. I like giving them message.
I love it.
And sort of giving them hope and just little jolts of joy throughout the day. And I went ahead and had one of me weightlifting, and I mentioned, how, and maybe that you guys can show a little clip or something on that here on the show while we're speaking, but I mentioned how being a good Christian is not just about taking care of your soul, but it's your mind, it's your body, it's everything. Right. And we really need to be physically fit as Christians. That is actually a moral obligation for us.
Yeah, us too.
It's very, very important for us. And again, we don't take that very seriously. This is Father Blake Britton coming to you live. Remember, being a good Christian is taking care of your mind, your heart, and your body. Hi-ya, hi-ya. Stay strong. God bless you guys. And so I'm not saying here that we all need to look like a supermodel, Some of us can, but others who can't. But so much my humility. Now you have to go to confession. I have to go to confession for my pride here. But all joking aside, not that you have to look like a supermodel, obviously, but each person has their own unique body. For sure. Each person has your own unique body type, and we know what's healthy and what's not healthy. And we do have the moral obligation to be healthy, to take care of the mind, to take care of the body, to take care of the spirit, and be that integral person.
And I totally agree. One of the big things we talk about is people are overwhelmed, Father. Yeah. So especially now in these crazy times, they're very overwhelmed. So I try to make it simple. I say, listen, don't make it daunting. Make it 5 minutes today. Yeah. Go out and take a nice little walk. Yeah. Right? If going to the gym helps you, fine. I'm all for it. But if you're one of those people who trust me, by the time they're done, they want to go. Right? Because they just feel so much better about themselves. But the thought of doing that initially, Father, is so overwhelming to them that they just can't wrap their head around that.
Yeah, you got to start small. That's a little bit of wisdom from the ancient desert fathers. This was a group of men who, after Christianity was legalized under Constantine the Great, they were sort of upset about it, actually, because they wanted to be martyrs. And so they couldn't be martyrs anymore because Catholicism was now legal. So they decided to go out and live in the deserts. And this was their new form of martyrdom, So it seems sort of crazy to us, but it's beautiful. Sure. They had this longing. Sure. But they have this way of approaching new habits and new things called the incremental way. And so they're very big on that, because you would have some young monks who would want to go join them in the desert. And they're like, there's this old monk who's been there for 50 years living in a cave. And the young monk is aspiring, and he says, I want to be like you. And so I'm going to not eat for a week like you don't eat. And I'm going to do this. And he comes from the world and does that. And the old monk says, no, I promise you're going to fail. If you start too big, you're going to fall short. And then you're going to feel down on yourself. Right. You're going to feel like it can't be done. So the old monks would teach the young monks, how about you just fast one day?
I'm not so sure, Father, but I think you just called me an old monk. Did you catch that, Jeremy? I think you called me an old monk. No, well, I think that was a subtle.
You got the beard and you got the bald going on, so you're fitting in with the Eastern.
The role.
The Greek Orthodox would love it,
I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, not at all. Not at all. I always love a good sense of humor. The church fathers also talk about that. But yeah, so that's important for us. I know that a lot of people get discouraged. Yeah. And also, if you fail, that's okay. Right. Like, this is a beautiful part of being human, is the fact that our brokenness, our frailty is not against us. It's actually for us. Right. I love some of those movies and books that you have aliens who come down and sort of look at human beings, or you have these sort of extraterrestrial creatures, and they're always amazed at one thing. I found a theme in these different movies and books. The one thing that fascinates these creatures or these animals about human beings is our hope, is our unbreakability. So the fact that although we may be fragile, we may fail regularly, there's this dauntless kind of hope that continues pushing us forward. And this has always been the greatest gift of the human species. It's been our desire to go against all odds, even amidst our own brokenness, and to find hope amidst it.
Can't think of a better way to end, except now what I want you to do, I want you to give your Christmas message.
Of course. Very appropriate.
I know, that's right.
Well, I'll happily do that. So we know that we're coming up to this most special time of year, and especially in a time when we're very desperately in need of hope and of joy. And there is no better time to have hope and joy than celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ our Lord, the birth of the one who came to teach hope and joy. This was always the defining characteristic that threw people off about Jesus and his teachings, was that he asserted with such surety the goodness of creation. He asserted with such surety how precious each and every human being is in the eyes of God. And that's what we celebrate in Christmas, that you are special, that you are loved, that you are precious, and that there is no person on this planet who does not deserve dignity and respect. And that's what the season's all about, that we celebrate the God who's come to reveal that same exact joy to us. And so as we enter into this Christmas season, no matter what religious background you're from, it's still a time of great friendship and great joy. I invite you to please celebrate this season, to extend that love, and to allow it to fill your heart, your mind, your body, and your spirit with the joy of the Christmas season.
Wow. I love it.
Thank
wow,
you.
That sums everything up, Father, for me. I do love you. You're the best.
Thank
you
you.
are the
Likewise,
best.
Dr.
You
Pinsky.
are the best. You are the best. And I got nothing, believe it or not, it's rare, but I got nothing else to say. I will say this in closing.
Yes.
For Father Blake Britton, I am Dr. Mark Pinsky. Thank you so much for watching The Doctor's Corner. This is Dr. Mark Pinsky once again, asking you to forward questions to us, whether regarding this episode or any of our past episodes, at drmarkscorner@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to check us out on our website, pinskywellness.com or pinskyweightloss.com. We look forward to hearing all of your questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as we do. Y'all have a great week.